Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So we have a slight problem here where to mark there's only one item here, but we know for a fact there's supposed to be two. So something is wrong with the way we wrote our code. So I want us to convert all the code that is here in the toMark controller right from where the else statement of if you're not an admin, if you are a lecturer, all this to be converted to one query, which will be much better. Now, the reason this can happen is like this. First of all, let's look at the problem step by step so that we know exactly what to do. So the first thing we're doing is we're doing a select all from a particular table, which is class lecturers in this case. And am I using this anywhere else? Okay, I'm still using it there, so we can leave it as a variable for now. So once I select from this class lecturers where user ID is equal to this user ID right here. So what I want is to, instead of using variables, because I want us to test this thing from PHP my admin directly, let's echo out the user ID so that we can add it to a specific query. So what I'll do is I'll echo out my user ID here. So let me just do show like that, and whatever is in user ID for now, we're going to display it. So refresh, and there it is. So that's Vibe Peters, right? So let's go to our PHP my admin. Now we can just go to the SQL tab regardless what table we are on, because we will specify our table here. So the table I want to get this from is from classes, because no, not classes actually, class lecturers. Oh, wait a second here. Maybe the reason things are not working is this is what, Mr. Vibe. Wait a second. Let's go to class lecturers. Or let's go to classes though. So in classes here, we have the general knowledge class, which is created by Vibe Peters. But if we go to class lecturers, let's see if that one exists. Let me go back and see its ID, general knowledge class. The class ID is TWG. So let's go back to class lecturers, TWG. So it's actually here. So, which is cool. So that's not the real problem. So what I want to do is I want to read classes that were created by Vibe Peters. And you can see here, there are two classes. So I'll get two class IDs. So what I'll do is I'll go to SQL tab and say select all from class lecturers where user underscore ID is equal to, and I will put this one in quotes like that. Okay, so select all from that and then hit go. So simple and straightforward query here, and we get all the classes that Vibe Peters resides over or presides over, who is a lecturer for those classes. So that is all good. But what I really want is the class IDs, because remember here, we're only getting this result and using only the class IDs that come from here, because we are using them right here. You see, class ID in this query here. So that's all we need. We don't need any of the other information. So I'm going to click edit inline so I can edit the query again. So instead of select all, I'm going to select one column, which is class ID, like that. So select class ID from there, and that everything else remains the same. So I still get the same result, but only now I have the class IDs alone. Now, it turns out that if you have results from a single column, you can use that result to create another query. So you can nest queries together if the innermost query only has one column as a result. So what I'm going to show you will not work if you say select all like this because it's going to return multiple columns instead of just one. So this will not work. It should only have one column so that it knows what to compare with the outermost query. So if I put this like select class ID from that where vibe Peters like this, it returns this result. Now I want to use this result in another query. Okay, so I want to tell it that whatever the result comes here, use it in a different query. So let me do this. Let me put the other query on this side. So the other query that I want is this next one. So we get the class IDs, but the next query is this one here. And this one is select all from tests where class ID is equal to class ID. So let's copy this query right there. Okay, so come back here and paste it here. So now the thing is, select all from tests where class ID is equal to class ID. Now instead of giving it one class at a time, I want all the results from here to be added to the query where class ID in. So we're going to use in here instead, because in is the way we can add. If for example you have multiple things to compare with, if you have multiple IDs, you can say you can use the in, and then you put, like I had mentioned in an earlier video, you put the IDs like that, comma, another ID, comma, just like that. Okay, so this is valid. Instead of using the equal sign to one of these, you can say in and put a bunch of them. Now it does that automatically if you put the in, and then instead of putting values like this, which are specific values, you put a query inside, and then it will use the result of the query as these values in here. So hopefully that's making sense. So let's remove this part here and just leave the in. So now we're changing our query to select all from tests where class ID in, and we want a bunch of class IDs to be here, and voila, we're going to use this one like this, cut and paste it here. So what's happening is that the class IDs from here will be used in this result of this other query like this. So bam, bam, like that. So let's see if this will return anything valid at all. So keep in mind that we are reading from the tests table, even though here we're reading from the class lecturers table. So once we get those class IDs, we use them in here. So let's run this query real quick. And as you can see, it does give results, which is cool, because now we have some test IDs of actual tests that only Vibe Peters is a lecturer of. So this is very good, because now here we were piling up the test IDs in here, and then we were using them for the following query here, where test ID is equal to test ID, and then we added some more where clauses like submit is equal to what. So we can do exactly the same thing by copying this other query. Now, before we do that, like I had said, let's click edit inline. We need to make sure that the result of this one is also a single column. So what do we need from there? We need the test IDs. So I'll say test underscore ID like that. And let's try the query before we do anything else. And there we go. So it brings us all the test IDs of all tests that Vibe Peters has written or has created. So these are all the tests that that person has created. So now that we have those, we can use that information to get only the tests that have not been marked from that list. So I'll say select all from answered tests, and then I will, let me copy all of this, copy that, and let's come back here and reconstruct our query. So edit inline again. Let's go to another line here and paste, so we can make a comparison. So as you can see, as usual, select all from answered tests where test ID, instead of having a single like this one, we're going to put brackets here instead, and then we'll put in there, okay? Because we want the result of this upper query to be in here. and then we'll leave the submit is equal to that and that, but let's remove the limit one because we can have multiple results. So let me cut the top part here and paste it in there like that. So we've nested queries here, one query inside another and inside another. So let's try this now and click go. And as you can see now, we get 2 results of unmarked tests. Very nice. So just by using this one query here, we've replaced all of this information up to there. And because the only thing we want is the to mark as the row, that's what we're going to use with our variable. So all I need to do now is edit inline and copy this wonderful query, copy there, and I'm going to put a comment here. This is the closing comment tag, and I want to comment from the top. Let's try here. Let's start here like this, and I do need the user ID here to be gotten from the currently logged in user, so I'll put that on top. But then now I can do query be equal to a double quotes and paste, semicolon at the end. So the only thing we need here is a valid user ID. So instead of vibe peters here is equal to, we're going to actually put user ID here with full colon user underscore ID. So that's the only thing we're going to need when running the query. So we do run the query here. Let me remove this show here, and we do run the query with this code right there. So I'm just going to copy that code and paste it here. So this muted code here, we're going to obviously delete eventually, but I'll leave it as it is for now. And yes, so the result of this is supposed to be the to mark. Copy there, and let's see, that's the result of this. Yes, so I'm going to put that here as the result of this query. To mark is equal to, and test query, and array contains that because that's the only variable we need here as added there. So let's see if we get better results with this. So refresh. Okay, so line 100 has a missing closing tag, probably because we muted everything up to here. What's going on here? What's going on? This one, I'm guessing, has no closing tag, which I think should have been this one. Was it? Or that one? What's going on here? Okay, let me unmute these guys for a bit and let's see what's what. So click here to see what that aligns with. Okay, it aligns with this one. Okay, cool. I see. So let me undo that. So closing that, I should end this here like that. Okay, and then start it again here and end it here again like that. Okay, that way this bracket has somewhere it belongs, and refresh. Very cool. So we do get 2 results. That's very nice. The only problem is we're not getting the test name, so we're not getting that test row from this. So this is okay because we can just it's supposed to be inside test details, so we can simply loop through the results and add test details to them, which will solve this problem. So simple and straightforward. Let me get the to mark. All I need to do is make sure that to mark is valid, just like we did here, and then query something. So I'll say if to mark. It's a good idea to write comments. So let's comment here and say get test row data. Okay, so what's missing here is this. Now let me explain using the database. So we're getting answered tests, which is this one right here, this table. But this one doesn't have the test name, it just has the test ID. So we need to get the test name from the tests table. So that's the information we are missing here. So if this is valid, let's loop through it, shall we? So let's do a for each loop. Loop through it like that to mark as a key and value. And if we are always replacing the original like this, we will need the key. So at this point, we'll create another query. And this query will go something like select all from tests where, or instead we won't even need to do, because we have a tests, what's this? It tests, what do I need to say? This one right here. So I want to just get this. It's easier to use these things instead. So instead of running a query, let's run this. Oh, I guess we will need a, no, we won't need a query. Sorry about that. So instead of to mark here, we're going to just call this one maybe A. And then if we do return a result, we'll say if A, then let's add it to the to mark. So to mark key, and then we say test details, test underscore details is equal to A. So the reason we're doing test details is because this is what it's looking for here, test details, as an object to represent an array of the test details. So let's figure this out a bit better. Here I'll use the first so that I get an object, and then here I will use, what do I need here? I need to look for the test ID, to use the test ID to get the particular test. And then where will the test ID come from? It will come from one of these value and test ID underscore ID. Okay, easy peasy. This should solve the problem. So let's refresh, and the problem is definitely solved. Pretty cool. But this one still says 1, so not cool at all. So now that we've removed all this, we've removed this, we will need to fix the admin section as well, because it returns data which contains the school IDs instead. So we will need to fix that as well. But for now, we don't need all of this. Maybe we need the search, so I'll leave the search here. We may want to use it later. So, but the rest of this should go. So click here to see the closing tag and delete. We don't need you anymore. We don't need data no more. We don't need that anymore. This one reads there. We don't need this anymore. Oops. Okay, and what else? We don't need this entire section here that is muted. Okay. Yes. So the only remaining part is the search here. What else? Query selector from table. This one we don't need either. So out like this. Oops. There we go. Okay. So we've reduced the code significantly. Now we could reduce it a little bit further if we decided to, no, I think we'll leave it just the way it is here. This is simplified enough. Okay, this one expects the to mark, copy. So in this case, the difference with all this is select all from tests where school ID is school ID. So this one takes all tests from the school. That's the only difference. Okay, so I'm sure we can fix that from this query here. Let me copy all of this. So we can do without this one in here. So let me copy all of this, copy this query here, and let's put this one right below the other one, and then change this to mark, like that. Okay, cool. Okay, that way we have consistency. Let me mute this one. So select all from. Now the thing is, here we have school ID as the thing in the array. Okay, school ID is the important thing. So this one that gets from tests, that's the only thing we need inside here. So where instead of class ID, it should be school ID, like that, where school ID is equal to, because it's just one school. So let's remove this bracket from here up to there. Okay, then put full colon school ID, like that. Okay, cool. This should work now. So the result of this is going to get all tests from this school, and then use that to get only the ones that haven't been marked. That's it. So we can remove the top one here, like that. Okay, so this reduces the code that we need, like that, and we get better results. There we go. Cool. And so we need to change this as well, the to mark, and maybe we can do that in the next video. But for now, let me see what actually triggers that by going to the views, include nav, and where is the to mark, which is this one, and this one comes from get to mark count. Okay, so which means it's in the get to mark count. Copy. This comes from the tests model, get to mark count. So let's go to the tests model. Where are the models? And that's the tests model. And here it says get to mark count. Where is that? There we go. Get to mark count. So we're simply using the same code from the other side and redoing it here. So instead, let's copy this, what we have, copy all of this up to here, up to there, copy. Okay, so yes, if admin up to the end before we send the data to the view, and then right about here, let's copy all of this up to where if admin, and paste. Cool. This should solve the problem. Now the thing is, we don't really need this search part out, and same thing here, we don't need the find, and also we don't need to get more information because we just need to know the count of the rows, so we can easily remove this as well and we'll still get similar results. Okay, so that looks much more simplified, and let's refresh. Okay, so undefined variable test on line 134. So let's see, 134. Okay, test. So we have to create that. Test is equal to new tests model. Great. Everybody's happy. Let's refresh. And there we go. So we have a 2 now, which represents what we see here. Okay, so hopefully that was useful, and now we can continue to actually mark the test. And then the advantage of this is we can order this. Where is this? Here, no need to order, but here in the to mark, we can use order by here. So let's just say order by ID descending at the end. Same thing here. Where is this? Yes, order by ID descending. This way we always get the last one first. Okay, that way. Who answered first here? Was Jane? Yes. Was it? Yeah. And then this one came along. Okay.